Dr. Castleberry here, engaging some high-quality student discussion questions from the Readings in COM 2143 Digital Media Literacy, and we are only in week 1, and we're already blowing the doors off this thing. This is fantastic. Yahaira's offered a ton of questions, and I just can't stop myself from engaging more of them. So I'm going to tackle 2 more, and we'll continue along with those that had submitted early in class. Her next question comes from the video that we encouraged everyone to check out in week 1, a scholarly clip titled "From Cave Drawings to Emojis: Communication Comes Full Circle." It was a guest speaker video shot of one of our authors. All right, so Denise himself. But in this video, Denise validates, and I'm now reading the question, how language is a part, I'm going to clarify a key term here, how language is a part of popular culture. But, question, could we say that language is the root of culture? And I love the playfulness of this question. I appreciate what the spin and the play on words and things like that. And so I want to play as well. I want to continue to kind of twist the wheel here in my response. So I will respond by suggesting language is the expression of culture. Or we could even say language is how culture continues through communication. Oh, I love it. I love all 3 of those. And certainly a way we can think about the value and the importance and significance of language. And that's going to spin off into this next question, if I'm not mistaken, and some questions to come from our other students here. So just as Denise talks about language initially beginning at pictures and symbols many thousands of years ago to evolving to letters and now back to pictures, could this same concept be applied to other parts of popular culture like music, clothing, or dance? Absolutely, right? And I think that's what this book is going to be. If you've looked at the table of contents and you can kind of like see where this is going, it's going in many directions, this book. And you know what? Another reason that's great is okay, so you're lukewarm to cold on the ideas of one chapter, but highly likely another one's going to kind of, strike a match and warm things up. At least that's what we hope. So absolutely, these different areas can be encompassed within popular culture. And when you list things like clothing, that is to say fashion, or music, a book comes to mind. If I were in my A studio, I just reach over on the shelf and grab it real quick. Barry Brumett's book, A Rhetoric of Style, is a fun ditty of a read. And one of the things he's doing in this book is he's drawing upon this master term, rhetoric, which is one of our larger subdisciplinary interest fields within communication studies, and he's we're rhetoric has a lot to do with the signs and the symbols that create and communicate and persuade. All right, it has a lot to do with persuasion, and so he's looking at things like style and what that means. Not only what the word itself means, he's just really going to dissect that term and its various cultural uses. But he'll bring in examples like fashion. He'll bring in examples perhaps like music. And I think there's even a chapter where he's looking at something like biker culture toward the end. And this is helpful because a book like that highlights the powerful significance of language and how language is persuasive by its nature and its uses. So great questions there. I want to hop over now to some questions from Tyler and appreciate the questions coming in. I'm writing in all caps here. I'm enthused by what I'm reading. Interestingly, Tyler starts with chapter 1 of, I believe, the Writing Well in the 21st Century Linda Spencer book. Chapter 1, Punctuation, the choices. First question. I'm someone who struggles with punctuation at times, but autocorrect has made it easy for me to cheat, quote unquote, in this area. I would put the word easy in quotation marks, right? What are your thoughts on this, and how will it affect those younger than me as well? All right. Gaze into my, I need to invest in that crystal ball so I can like rub it and come up with the answers on the spot. But on a serious note, autocorrect. I mean, as easy as it is, it's failing me all the time in my private chats, right? It's ruining the jokes that I'm making, because if I'm trying to get it out with comedic timing, which is already a risk because I don't know how quickly it's coming through or going through, let alone the miscommunication element, autocorrect is always changing where I want to go with something, right? Especially if I'm trying to be punny, it's messing that up. So it's not always, so it's, I like, maybe I do like they cheat in air quotes, because sometimes it cheats us in the wrong way, right? And like, what do you call it? Like cheaters, you always get caught. We have these slogans that we say to children, right? To try to get them to cheat. But here's what I did right. Here's my written response to when I read your question. This is a struggles with punctuation. I need to identify what I mean by this. Struggles with punctuation is a common habit and reason we're seeing cultural deterioration in reading and writing, right? Media effects are real, especially smartphone and social media algorithms. The number one issue, other than, I'll save that for our ongoing discussion in the fake news scavenger hunt, which is part of our video discussion series, right? So aside from that problem, the other big problem with media effects and smartphones in particular, and social media in particular, is it's diminishing attention spans. And our concern used to be that it was diminishing attention spans in children, right, in youth, and it remains particularly problematic for young children to be engaging in digital media, especially LED lighting, with no filters. But it is having an increased, diminished impact on adult attention spans, and anyone over 18, I'm going to put you into that category and say, we got a problem, people, right? Like, let's break the glass, let's pull the alarm, and let's get a think tank going. We need to workshop this, we've got to figure out what we're going to do with this going forward, because it is a problem. And so anyway, increased media use, decreased reading and writing. In the traditional sense, hey, I'm not going to go out there and say like, rest in peace pencils, and oh woe is these changes in technology. Guess what? I write more often and faster at a keyboard on a computer than I ever can by hand. And my writing habits, I like to outline by hand. I like to shorthand and brainstorm by hand. But if I need to get into flow of writing something, I need to be at a keyboard. So I'm an advocate of balance, right? And I respect the nature of progress as it relates to technology. But we see a cultural deterioration in reading and writing, and instead of just throwing our hands up, waving the white towel or flag, right? White towels and flags or whatever thing you can grab, and giving in and just saying, well, that's where technology and progress are headed. So, dude, This is actually a reason for us to become more attentive and take more advantage of opportunities. This is why we're not going to stop flooding students with more readings than they can handle in an accelerated cycle. The whole purpose is that you're getting inundated with access to multiple perspectives, so that and multiple writing assignments and activities, so that you see and benefit from the plurality of options that exist there. And ultimately, you know, I don't, the wrong way for us to finish a degree is to be like, oh, phew, glad that's over. All right, let me sell all these books as fast as possible and now just turn the page. That is to say, close the book forever, and then start working somewhere. Well, did we, what, I mean, that's a reality for some people. And we're not poo-pooing on that. But we're saying that's also missing part of the point. Part of the point is that we're in a metamorphosis, right? we want to accelerate personal and individual growth. And now take these tools and what do you do with them at the next level, at the next stage? And that is our goal, a goal among many. And thus, my point is, there's reason for us to try harder. If we know other people's attention spans are diminishing, instead of the pack mentality, we should learn from it. We should be strategic. And how do we use that opportunity, that reality, to rise and say, like, I'm part of the solution, or I represent the employee that has a more sustainable attention span, that has clarity of voice, that can code switch writing styles, so that I can be an alpha employee, so I can be a leader of the community, of the workplace, and so on. That's what we want. That's what we want for us. Here's one. What's your what's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to punctuation? Watson lacking a punctuation mark, mind you. What's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to punctuation? Reckless punctuation, right? I'm absolutely not the most penetrating of writing style critics, because I'm often invested in what is the idea, what is the core of this thing, like, what is the substance here, but when it comes to reckless punctuation can just, it's a sign, it's a tell sign, right? It's like when someone's holding their cards down too far and I can see what they have in their hand. Whether it's just purely starting sentences without capitalization, ending sentences with no punctuation. I mean, these are some of, like, the obvious tell signs, and sentence fragments that just the kind that either meander on forever or just absolutely lack substance at its core. Just reckless, right? But I appreciate everyone always. Folks are invested in asking my perspective on things, and too often I skip over those questions, like, nobody really cares what my hot take is, and I'm even less interested in that than really just kind of shepherding us through content. But 2 more questions, and we'll wrap up this segment. From Tyler: how do you think pop culture will change due to COVID-19? And we are seeing these changes already. We're seeing this, right? Obviously, a huge conversation is about movie theaters and how they closed down for a while, and then they tried to open back up, and nobody's there, and they're failing, and these large investment firms, they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars every quarter, even billions of dollars are lost, and this impacts thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of jobs, but the creative industry as a whole. And you say like, well, at the same time, we're streaming more, and obviously, well, what's a result? What's a cause effect? Because people aren't going to the movies, and because movie theaters are tanking, the effect is production companies are selling or shipping their product to streaming services, because obviously streaming is booming. It was already booming. It's more booming. It's boominger now. And so we're seeing this kind of compromised trend right now. We don't know what it looks like. Everyone's hoping, the investors, I guess we should say, the laborers are hoping there's a version of normality that returns when things stabilize. But the problem of not knowing when that is leads to problems of how do we pay for everything and all the money we're hemorrhaging in the meantime. So film is at a crossroads. Television, it's flooding right now. And there's so much you can find. There's just limitless archives of content you can kind of take in. But what about the new stuff? And a lot of productions have resumed, but they're costlier than ever. What did I read? All right, so I know I'm trying to talk about television, but I'm going to pivot back and forth. Disney was supposed to launch 8 different Marvel shows on their platform, and maybe like 2 or 3 in 2020. Well, we're at the end of 2020, and none of them have come out, and they keep moving those deadlines of release. And they had to shut down production. And then eventually they picked it back up, but there's like are they, and how much, and when? So that stuff's really slowed down. And on the film side, there is yet another Jurassic World. I got to use the terms right. Jurassic World sequel, a kind of closer of what's been a soft reboot trilogy. And it got shut down midway through production. And they resumed, and they're kind of like the NBA over here, like COVID testing everyone on set regularly. And I read they spent something like $8 million additionally just on COVID testing procedures for the film production. They administered like 140,000 tests or something just to get this film completed. The filming stage, right? And this is a billion-dollar franchise, multi-billion-dollar franchise. And then you got to ask yourself, well, that's amazing, and bravo, you completed it and all that stuff. Oh, wait, what if the theaters aren't open back up, or what if they all closed down by the time this thing was ready to, let's say, come out next summer? We don't know any of this stuff. So a lot of stuff's up in the air. Professional sports. Have you watched one lately? A professional sport? They have, they're playing in empty stadiums. We saw the NBA kind of experiment with the bubble, which was a fascinating a fascinating case study. But a lot of people, it just kind of also coincided with some social protests and things like that, and a very divisive product. But professional sporting events are playing out in empty stadiums, and I mean that's enormous loss of revenue. These are types of popular culture. Cable news, meanwhile, though, booming in an election year. Arguably, also a type of popular culture. I mean, go talk to someone. Go get online right now. People are addicted to cable news and hot takes, right? And specific demographics, some more than others. And so we're seeing pop culture have a clear relationship with the global pandemic, and a kind of like, I think about a lava lamp, right? And how you just get caught looking at, this is an outdated thing, right? This is a gimmicky product. This was a fad more than a piece of pop culture. The lava lamp. Do you all know what I'm talking about? You're going to have to Google this now. A lava lamp and the way this thing flows is what I think of when I think about pop culture interacting with a global pandemic. Interesting. Let's take a break. we're hitting a big minute mark here. we better take a segment break and give people a chance to reboot, right? Go scream in a pillow, whatever you got to do.